I'd like to talk a little about a phenomenon I've been interested in, and Bill too, of course, what we call liberalism here in America, which is no longer like the old liberalism in any important way that I know of. Liberalism here has taken on the character of ideology in a negative way in this respect. The ideologist accuses the West in various direct ways. The liberal now accepts the accusation on our behalf. I mean, for a concrete illustration, you see our congressman writing to the communist rulers of Nicaragua, sort of apologizing for Ronald Reagan's behavior. We see this all the time. These are not people who espouse the ideology, but they accept on our behalf its charges against us. They plead guilty for us, like a lawyer who, without consulting his client, enters a guilty plea. Court-appointed lawyer, I might add.
Yes, there is, I suppose, a powerful human disposition to beat one's chest and cry mea culpa. It clears the air, rather.
It's what Jean-Francois Revel is talking about,
yes,
isn't he? When he asked, can democracies survive, given that they are sick with their brooding self-accusations, so that when somebody else accuses them, they can't really heartily rebut.
Yes, I've been fascinated by this for quite a long time. I ran into it recently in a talk-in program on famine in Ethiopia, where a number of people in Britain who asked questions were clearly persuaded that we in the West were guilty in some sort of way for the Ethiopian famine. Now, the West has very few direct relations with Ethiopia, and I was puzzled by why they should immediately have this sense of guilt. Now, guilt is the sense of having violated a rule, and the problem, it seemed to me, is what rule could these people thousands of miles away have possibly violated? And I suppose the rule must be something like, thou shalt not be more fortunate or more successful or more equal than anyone else. And along these lines, you see, you might, it's not psychoanalysis, it's a bit like socioanalysis, or an analysis of hidden dimensions of consciousness, that people reading the papers and going to universities and engaged in ordinary political discussion of the kind with which we're familiar pick up the notion that there is something shady and unseemly about being better fed or better clothed than somebody else. That is, if you put a liberal face-to-face in the third world with somebody starving, they immediately feel uneasy, and I'm sure I would too, and it's one of the characteristics that we have. One of the peculiarities of our civilization, because I don't imagine that a Chinese mandarin confronted by a starving beggar 500 years ago would have had the slightest sensation of guilt in the least.